Welcome to the RSI Trade of the Day. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing. And it's Friday. Happy Friday. Thanks for being with me at 8:45 in the morning, every single morning when the market is open. So we got an exciting show for you guys. I have one stock in particular that I haven't seen the relative strength index on the intraday chart act like this before. And the only caveat with this is it's at the lows of the chart. It's Jack in the Box. And I'll get into that trade a little bit later, but what this is astonishing as far as the price action and how the relative strength index has stayed above the 50 even into the 70s on something like this. It is a $350 million company. Everybody, I'm pretty sure, at least in the United States, has heard of Jack in the Box. But for its valuation to be so low, but the relative strength index so strong, it's incredible. Anyway, before we do that, before we get into that, let's go ahead and go into the trade of the day. Yesterday was eBay. eBay was absolutely incredible. And let's go ahead and go into the RSI recap. All right, so let me go ahead and share my charts with you guys. Here is the chart of eBay right here. This is what I was seeing in the intraday yesterday. He had this beautiful positive RSI divergence all day long. And this is my indication over and over and over again. I see this, that you have this relative strength index that stays above the 30 into the 70s, but never pierces the 30 to create this negative RSI divergence. So this was on the following day. When we were going to get into the trade, I said our upside target was $102.03, $102.03. You guys, that was like a 1% move higher. I mean, that's it. I was anticipating at least a little bit more of a bounce. Unfortunately, you can't necessarily predict how high these things are going to go. What I do is see that the relative strength index is pushing it so high, doesn't give an opportunity for the buyers. But the next day, because it's a new day, new cycle, new news, that it's likely to flush out. Now, look at this. So it got up to, in the pre-market, in the pre-market, $100.97. That was the high. And look at this flush out. Look at it. I mean, this is incredible. This is what the charts were telling me. The charts were telling me that based on the relative strength index, it stayed strong. That means it doesn't give an opportunity for the sellers to take hold. And so once the day ends, once the buyers are now focused on a different stock, now the sellers can come in and flush this out. And that's what happened. And it actually hasn't gotten back up to the $100.06 level, right? So these are just some interesting things to watch in the charts. If you guys are looking at the intraday, and when I mean intraday, I mean like the 1 minute, like really break it down. Go dive deep inside of the stock. You can get some exciting information, especially when charts are at all-time highs. You know, expect a pop the next day, but then you can see these big flush outs, right? These are day trades, not swing trades. I'm not saying it's just overextended for an extended period of time throughout one full day, and now we're expecting a 10, 15, 20% pullback. No. These are like 2 to 3, 4% pullbacks, and they happen often. I would actually love to hear from you guys. When you guys look at charts, do you guys dive into the intraday? Do you go into the 1 minute? And have you noticed the same pattern setups? And if you do, I would love to see or hear some of the stocks. So leave your comments and tell me, have you seen something similar? Because over and over and over again, this is why I've decided to do this. And it has to be pre-market so that way I can get a sentiment of what happened the day before. And that's why we're going to go into a stock called Jack in the Box. But before we do that, I want to go into Amazon. Let's go ahead and go to Amazon. So I was expecting Amazon to continually float higher on the back of the news that they're, rolling out extra grocery stuff. Now they're in more stores. So this should be negative for like Walmart and stuff like that. You have this nice upsloping trend line and then a breakdown. What I am noticing though on the Amazon chart is you have this beautiful upsloping trend line break. Now what is likely to happen is because we haven't retested the all-time highs since the 4th of February. And this is one of the major caps of the markets. So Magnificent 7. So what I'm looking for here is I want a pierce of 70 and it retag the underbelly of this upsloping trend line. So maybe 100, 245, maybe even up to 250. If this gets up to 250, you guys, you've got this upsloping trend line here. It'd be probably a retrace of seeing the crime. The RSI is probably going to be above 70. And as you can see, the relative strength index on the Amazon charts respect the 70 quite well, and you get some volatility. So $250 would be my max upside target before we get a significant rollover. And when I say significant, I mean like a 10, 15, even 20% pullback in the Amazon chart. I'm not saying it's going to go back down to these, $162, but you can get a significant pullback. So look for $250 for Amazon as a max upside for me. So if you're bullish, that would be where I'd take profits. If you're bearish, that's where I would enter a short. All right, let's go into a chart. Solana. Solana's been doing pretty well. It is, unfortunately, it's not creating negative RSI divergence. So when I look at negative RSI divergence, I need a big pull up or a big pop in the relative strength index, a big pop in the price action. Now you have a lower high on the price action and the lower high on a relative strength index. So what this is telling you is that there's an equal number of buyers and sellers basically right at the same level. So lower price action, downsloping trend line, both on the RSI and the price action. It doesn't give you an advantage. It could be signaling, though, that there are more sellers involved in Solana than there are buyers, and it's failing to push Solana higher. So what you want to do is you'll want to wait for a break of that trend line, or this pivot top, right? So try to recapture at 205. If we can recapture 205 on Solana, then we have a potential to go up to $223. At that point, it would likely put the relative strength index above the 70 again, but the price action would be even higher, creating a negative RSI divergence. Okay, so you're going to need to see an additional movement in Bitcoin as well. But overall, Solana, a pierce of 70, if it gets up to $223, that could be a great take profit or an exit level or a short level for that. XMR, Monero, USD. So this one is being weak. Look at the relative strength index. So it looked as if it was going to create some positive RSI divergence, meaning that the relative strength index is going to be higher while the price action is going lower. It is getting into a lot of support. So if you guys are bullish on Monero, this might be a turning point at the $240 level. It could go lower. So what I'm looking for is additional information. So I would like another push lower on the RSI, lower price action, a little bit lower, maybe get down to this $214 level. And then at that point, hopefully we can get another push down here, but the relative strength index starts moving higher. So once we can get that confirmation that you've got a positive divergence on the relative strength index with negative price action, that would be a good opportunity to possibly get into for a long. And actually, I would be bullish on XMR if that were the case. UNH was a great example of that. I kind of demonstrated here. You've got this negative RSI or positive RSI divergence. You got this low price here, lower price here, pierce to 30, but positive RSI divergence. And then look, it's about $300 in the pre-market. I gave you guys this idea at around $237. So it would have been a nice pop. All right. So I want to go over a trade that I took yesterday in the live day trading room. It wasn't a huge victory, but it was a good enough victory. And one of the reasons our members brought this to our attention, this was negative in the pre-market, right? So really negative news going into the pre-market, had a nice rally. Look at what the relative strength index did, created a little bit of negative RSI divergence. What I didn't like, though, and one of the reasons I didn't stay in this a little bit longer, I did end up entering at $242. I added at $244.52. So right in that area. But look at what was happening, negative RSI divergence, but the price action was starting to get muted. And so when this happens, when the price action gets muted and the relative strength index gets muted, it's kind of a 50-50 at that point, right? So you want some really strong price action and you want that velocity, that movement in the price action, which will correlate to the relative strength index movement as well. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get into the RSI trade of the day. All right, here is the chart of Jack in the Box. Like I was mentioning, look at this. This was absolutely incredible, you guys. Yesterday, the RSI on Jack in the Box was phenomenal. It stayed strong throughout the morning session. Look at this. Stayed in the 93s and stayed above even the 50 for most of the day. Towards the end of the day, you had a little bit more of a sell-off. So you see these red candles. That's what pushed the relative strength index down, but never even got close to the 30. So this tells me that there is still a lot of strength inside of Jack in the Box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the daily time frame. It only had a 10% move. And I say only, but from the lows, it was about a 15% move to the upside. Look at how low on the charts Jack in the Box is. Normally, I like to take trades that have relative strength that have been going up. However, today's trade of the day is going to be $22.17 a short on it. And the reason I'm looking for an extended move, a 7% move to the upside, is based on the fact that it's so low on the charts. It's been so beaten up, and it's such a small volume stock, and it's a small stock, right? So it's under $1 billion. So it doesn't take many investors to get into this thing to really move it. So my short level on Jack in the Box is $22.17. And it's got that additional resistance levels at that blue downsloping trend line that I had on my chart. If we start breaking above our entry price and we close above on a 15-minute closing basis, that's it. I'm out. That's it. And based on the fact that it's an extended move from the last 2 days, I would be looking for a 3 to 5% pullback on this. Okay, so you're looking at an entry price of $22.17, and you're looking for about a 3 to 5% pullback. So you're looking for a $21.43 pullback all the way down to, let's say, under $21. So a break of 21 bucks. All right. All right. So there was a lot of stuff that I covered. Hopefully you guys are getting some information, and please remember, make sure to comment and tell me what your guys' experience has been, or if you see one and it's a setup for possibly the next day, I would love to bring that to everybody else's attention. So comment with the chart, with the stock ticker or the crypto ticker. I would love to check it out. And that's what I have for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, please like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you can get notified 8:45 every morning with me with the RSI trade of the day. And stay tuned. Gareth has the game plan coming up. He's probably got some exciting news for you guys. And we'll see you guys next time in the charts. Take care.
Hey guys, Lawton here with Verified Investing, and today I'm here to talk about Kinesis.money, our sponsor. Thank you to Kinesis for sponsoring us. So Kinesis has this awesome thing called yields, in which you can literally earn gold by just performing different activities on their website and their platform. So the first way that you can earn on Kinesis.money is through their holders yield. So basically what that is if you buy some KAG or KAU from them, which is basically equivalent to gold or silver, they're one-to-one crypto equivalent of gold and silver, you're able to collect money from them, right? A percentage of all of the fees that Kinesis takes over transactions, over buying KAU, KAG, or anything else is distributed to people that hold on to KAG and KAU. So super cool. Now the velocity spending is also really cool. So if you spend KAU or KAG, you're actually going to get a percentage of all the fees. Again, this is of all the fees that Kinesis takes relative to how much you use Kinesis. So this is things from going to the grocery store and buying things on your Kinesis card. This are things like buying KAG, KAU, sending it to someone else. And finally, it's the same thing as trading on their platform, right? If you do any of those things, you qualify for this velocity yield. The next awesome way that you can earn with Kinesis is through the referrers yield. So if you refer any friends, family, you'll get a percentage of all of their transactions in perpetuity, which is super cool. They also have a partner for a program for partners and minters. But what I really want to focus on is this KVT, the most exciting part of Kinesis for me. 20% of all of the shares of all the transaction fees that happen on Kinesis are going to be distributed to holders of the KVT crypto token. There's a limited amount of crypto supply, but that's a really cool way to actually own part of Kinesis. You can get in on the ground level and just hold those tokens and collect a nice return. Thank you so much to Kinesis for sponsoring this video, and go check out their website at kinesis.money.